12. 12th episode.
12th episode of the Move Worthy podcast with Jenny
And Lauren.
And today we're going to finish up the Q&A that we started last week. We have a lot of questions that came in, and we're just trying to get to the bottom of them. So we'll start it off. This one's kind of funny. This one could probably, a little, it's just, I guess, personal preference. I'll just say that. All right. So we put in our first offer on Saturday night. Excited. They were asking $250 and we said $238. I asked about first-time homebuyer grants. There was nothing out there for us. I'm nervous. We'll find out Sunday night. Realize there's no window treatments in any of the windows. I'm kind of upset about that after we made the offer. Well, you did go in under asking.
$12,000.
Which I think could cover your window treatments.
Your window treatments.
So, and look, and that happens.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you might overlook something, but window treatments is not a big deal. You still have so many pieces of the process to get through.
And actually, window treatments are immovable. So even if you did put an offer on a house that had window treatments, you would have to write it in the contract to ask them to leave them. They're not required to leave them. So ultimately, regardless of whether they had them, they could have taken them.
Yeah.
So,
and look, that section, I know in our contracts, that section of the contract is in the very beginning, has changed so much
many
over the years.
Times, yes.
To incorporate things like, now we hang TVs on the wall. What stays? Does the TV stay? Does the mount stay?
Right.
Similar to window treatments, do the actual curtains stay or just the mount stay?
Yes.
I mean, I've had a client take blinds.
Yep.
Custom blinds.
Mm-hmm.
And to no fault of their own, of course we have these discussions with our clients, but sometimes I think they just take everything without thinking.
Yep.
And my client in that situation did have to bring them all back.
Yep.
And then I covered the cost to have them rehung.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, I typically, for my buyers, I would explain it to where the rod would stay and the blinds would stay. But the curtains, if the curtains or shades or whatever is an addition to the blinds, or something that they want, we would need to put that in black and white in the contract, just to protect all parties.
I appreciate it so much when agents do that too. They put everything in there. It might sound like a lot, but you can't overlook it. You can't mess it up when it's specifically written out what they want to stay. And then I ask all my sellers, hey, these things are assumed to stay.
Right.
What out of this group do you want to take with you? And what usually surround sound systems,
yes,
security systems, cameras, the blinds. One time a bathroom mirror, I was like, no, bathroom mirror, stay.
Yes,
like
bathroom mirror, stay.
And if you want to take the mirror that's there, replace it.
Yeah. I think it's one of the things that has become a real popular thing are these the Ring door cameras.
Oh, yeah.
Those are not permanently fixed.
They're just like stuck.
They're just screwed in with a little screw, or even sometimes used with like a command strip. So, they're not hardwired. They're not anything permanent. So a lot of times buyers assume that that's going to stay. And not only is it not a fixed object, there's a membership and a subscription
to it,
that you have to pay for.
Yes.
So I think ultimately at the end of the day, when it comes to things like this, make sure that you're having these conversations with your agents as to what, is mandatory to stay, what is not mandatory to stay. And don't be upset with yourself if you came in $12,000 under asking and you got the house and they didn't have window treatments.
Yeah.
Like that, that.
You might want your own stuff.
Yeah.
Your own colors.
I think that would be, for a seller, if you came back and said, I thought the window treatments were going to stay, they could probably be like, hey, we gave you this much off the price, go buy your own window treatments.
Right, exactly. And look, and sometimes as agents, maybe we overlook things too.
Yeah.
But when we're in a house with a buyer, we should say, hey, these things are is there any of this you want?
Yeah.
So, and write all that in the contract so everyone knows.
I've gotten very specific with my appliances too, because a lot of people just used to write appliances to stay. Well, what appliances? The kitchen appliances, the washer and dryer.
Fridge in the garage.
The fridge in the garage.
What
what appliances?
Yes.
So I'm very specific when I list appliances on a contract.
I do too. I think I say
all
kitchen
kitchen
appliances plus
washer,
refrigerator.
plus refrigerator and
included,
garage, plus washer and
plus
dryer.
washer dryer, because that's not all included.
No.
So yeah, definitely specific. But again, if you get this house for $238 and they were asking $250, call it a win and go pick out exactly what you want.
Absolutely.
Yes. All right. It seems seller financing is my only option. How do I find listings that offer that? Zillow doesn't seem to offer that. Neither does Realtor.
No.
Neither does, I would think none of the sites really do have a
specific category for that.
Right.
Yeah.
So
but the MLS does.
And who can access that?
Get yourself an agent.
Call a realtor. So if that's the only thing that you can do, call a realtor, ask them to search the MLS, specify that as the criteria, and we can pull up what's offered.
Yes.
And I'll be honest, there's not a lot. So out of 100 listings on the market, maybe 20 of them, so 80-20 probably, maybe 20 of them might offer some sort of seller financing, owner financing, lease purchase, and maybe less.
Mm-hmm.
So while your options are going to be a little more limited, you're definitely going to need a realtor to help you look for that.
Definitely.
So it is possible.
Yep.
And when you do go through a process like that, make sure everything is done just as if you were buying through title companies, recording, legal, all of that good stuff.
Don't skip any good parts.
There's a few things that are a little tricky, and they all do about the same thing, and that is lease purchase, rent to own, owner financing, and bond for deed.
Mm-hmm.
Those are some of the things you might hear or look for when you're doing that search in the MLS, and just make sure you're doing whichever process that is correctly.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't know.
Make sure there is a title attorney involved.
Always.
Absolutely.
All right, let's get on to the next question. What is a good way to check your credit? I've been using Credit Karma, but I've heard that Credit Karma is not that accurate.
It is not. It is the furthest from accurate. There's a couple of websites that I've had clients use that are close, but I'd have to say most lenders recommend that you use myfico.com. And you can't use the free version of it. You have to subscribe, and you have to be able to run your mortgage score. So your typical Experian score, TransUnion score, those are not accurate. There's a score specific for a mortgage, and that's what's going to match best to a lender. So sign up for myfico.com, sign up for the subscription, and watch your mortgage score.
I didn't even know that.
You didn't?
No, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. There's an auto score. There's a mortgage score.
Really?
Oh, absolutely.
I did not know that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I'm learning something today.
Most auto lendings use TransUnion as their go-to score, but yeah, your scores are different for mortgage, auto, and then your regular credit scores.
Huh. I did not know that. Mm-hmm. I do know so we have Capital One.
Uh-huh.
When we log into our app,
that's Experian.
Okay, it gives us a credit score.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's a very blanket credit score.
Okay.
But it's usually close, but it's not perfect.
Right.
But people that are working on their credit, like every point counts.
Right.
And every time a lender runs your credit, it costs them to rerun it. So they typically give, a window, like a 2 or 3 month window. If they do like those mortgage estimators or credit score estimators, they'll say, if you do XYZ in this amount of time, we can probably get your credit score here, but they're not going to rerun it until that X amount of time is up. Because it costs them every time they run a credit on. Not only does it cost them, it's a hit on you because it's a push on your credit. So they don't do it. They don't constantly watch it. So for a client to be able to watch it on something like this on myficoscore.com, they can definitely get a better idea of what it's going to look like when the lender runs it.
How often does it rescore? Yes.
Most lenders rescore every 6 months.
Oh, okay.
Now, how
often does your credit score change? Like month to month?
Oh, month to month.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So anytime you spend, pay off something.
Yep.
Okay. Don't pay something.
Don't pay something. Yes. And there's typically depending on the creditor, there's a window, typically a 5 to 10 day window on when your payment was due or when your payment was made as to when it reflects your actual credit score. But it happens monthly.
Okay. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So things to know if you're working on it.
Yep.
Pay attention. Pay things off. And what's the whole deal, since we're on credit, when they say don't close things out? Is it just to show your
history, a good standing?
Okay.
So a lot of lenders will say, hey, you have this, but I want you to leave $25 on it. Pay everything but $25, because what it does is it keeps the account open and it proves a good standing, and that goes towards your score.
And then your length of time.
And then your length of open accounts is important too. If you have the same account for 20 years, that weighs heavily on your credit score.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, Robert was trying to get his score to a certain number, and I think the last thing he needed was an account that was at least 24 or 25 years old. Or his first one that he ever opened.
Yeah.
And I think he's almost there.
Yeah.
He's getting old.
We have Jonathan and I have a credit card from when he was in high school.
Oh, wow.
And so we have a good long-standing history, and I know that helps our credit score tremendously.
Robert put Peyton on a credit card, one of our credit cards, when he was in high school, when he started driving.
Yep.
I think that's helped him.
Absolutely.
The only thing that hurt him, I think, early on when he first tried to get pre-approved was just
not enough. Yeah, not enough history.
He still had that. It started for him, and we did that with Olivia already. I think Robert added her to one of our credit cards just to build that.
Yeah, that history.
Mm-hmm. So definitely good things to think about for you, for your kids, family, future.
Yep. Yeah, put a kid on don't put them on as like just a I forgot what they called it. Make sure they're an authorized user.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So if they're an authorized user, then they get their own card. They don't have to use it, but they get their own card, and that's when it would reflect their credit.
That's what we have. That's what Peyton had. And look, the difference between our children, Peyton would call his dad every time he wanted to use it. Olivia uses it.
Right.
Collects the cash back, like if she buys food for her friends, collects the cash
and
back from her friends and doesn't give it back to us.
That's hilarious.
I'm like, wait, what? Your brother would have never
done that. Right.
Like he knew better.
Right.
And here you are like, oh, I got my card.
Yeah.
Because it's her card. She's an authorized user. But yeah, difference in these kids these days.
For sure.
Wow. All right. So this one isn't really from a first-time home buyer, but I guess we can elaborate on this. You want to?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I've been seeing this a lot online throughout the different websites. A lot of realtors are citing this, quoting this.
Mm-hmm.
74, there's the stat out there that says 74% of realtors sold 0 homes in 2024. Should they keep their license active? Like 2024 was rough.
A brutal year.
It was brutal for a lot of people. And look, and I can see, I know someone on the other side of that spectrum had a breakout year last year.
Mm-hmm.
It just happens like that.
Mm-hmm. But
74% is huge. We saw a decrease in our office. If I had to look at it from, 100% of our 16, 17 agents, and now we're down.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's probably about 50% in our office alone, the agents that got out of the business.
Yeah. But on the flip side, there's so many agents that got into the business when the market was great.
This is true.
So this is how I feel about this question. Should they keep their license? Yes. I think they should keep their license. I think the agents that work through the hard times are typically the agents that end up super successful. That's truly what I believe. In 2008, they had that huge crash.
Correct.
And
I got in
honestly,
09.
and you got in 09, and honestly, agents that had a terrible time got out of the business. Well, what that did was it took all of the agents that were really not making this their first priority in their true career. It kind of allowed them to step back and say, if I can't do this part-time, then I really don't want to do it at all. And then it became less of a competitive market for realtors. Mm-hmm. So I do think that right now we're kind of seeing
that
transition too. And I think that the agents that were really in the business part-time and doing what they loved, but couldn't really make it a career, this is when they're kind of getting out of it. So if it is a full-time job for you, if it really is a career for you, and you can push through, the tough times, I think you end up on top.
I think you're right. And it's frustrating. It's hard. I mean, it's your livelihood. To those agents out there who didn't, who it is your career. It's rough. And it was rough for some of us in our office as well. But push through. Go back to the basics. Like, what did you do when you first started? What made you successful in the beginning? Go back and think about how you're working with your clients. What can you do better? And then obviously look at your budget. What can you cut? What can you get through? What can you work around? And then what can you do to advertise yourself that doesn't cost a lot of money? Like, those are some tips, I think, to try to get through this year. Even with the chaotic way 2025 has started, I mean, from a terror attack in New Orleans to a snowstorm in New Orleans to a new president. I mean, 2025 is like, wow. What do people say? Like, that was not on my bingo card,
right?
Like, I need one of these bingo cards, because, right? Geez, I have high hopes for 2025. I can see things turning, even though we're still working through interest rates and things. I can see things turning. I'm very hopeful for it. Putting our heads down, getting to work, focusing on our clients. I think we're going to make it through. And if you can hang on to your license, I think you can make it through too. And if you were part-time, didn't sell any homes, and you're like, you know what, I can let this go and go do something else and maybe one day get back into it, then that's fine. Yeah. That's fine too. So. And
you don't have to, you can put your license on a... Inactive. You don't necessarily let your license go. You can keep up with it, but make it inactive and just, not do real estate at this time.
Correct. Save some money, go inactive, keep up with your CE, come back when the market turns around, or when your clients start calling again. Say, hey, let me go change that real quick. And you can do it just
Absolutely.
Like that.
Just like that. Yep.
Yeah. Good stuff. My daughter has been saying that a lot lately.
Good stuff.
Good stuff. This one is a little interesting, and I think it is our last question of the day. Just curious as to why realtors don't host open houses every weekend. I just sold my house recently because we had 2 back-to-back open houses. The other homes in my neighborhood are just sitting for months. So,
I think this one is super situational. It is specific to the property. There are some houses out there that will absolutely sell themselves.
Yes.
If you have a great realtor and it's priced right, I think that,
I don't think it was necessarily because of the back-to-back open houses.
I agree. Do I think that they're helpful in today's market? Absolutely. I really do. I think we're seeing more and more open houses. Do I think that open houses, in my opinion, do I think they need to happen right away? I don't. Some people disagree with me.
I like them.
You like them right away.
I like to come out of the gate with a new listing and do open houses. I think it's the excitement, the build-up, it's on the market. Let's get some people in the door. I like that. So,
I think it's situational. There's an agent that knows the market and knows the area and knows the buyers and knows the sellers can pretty much tell or pretty much get a good feel of, hey, if we put this house on the market at this price, I really do think we're going to have a lot of activity, and maybe not really require an open house, but I think it's very situational. That's a tough one.
It is tough. I don't have the stats in front of me right now, but you can go online and find how many houses actually sell from an open house. It's very low, because everyone, as realtors, we're all looking. As buyers, you're all looking online. As realtors, we're all looking at the MLS. Open houses, maybe now that buyer agency has changed, could be just an easier way to pop in homes as a buyer. But it's not necessarily, you're not going to walk into the house and just write a contract right there. I
No.
don't think that happens. And I don't think that happened in this case, but maybe just the exposure of the home.
No, I know I've walked into, as a listing agent, I've walked into some homes and just been like, wow, okay, wait, I didn't expect this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, those situations, I think maybe an open house would be beneficial. Something that can't be photographed well.
Oh, yeah.
Something that, you maybe, some perks with the actual property that you can't necessarily advertise or see, or, something that can be something but isn't yet something.
Right.
Like, maybe open houses would be beneficial for that. Maybe even, as crazy as it sounds, gutted houses. Like when you look at look at pictures of a gutted house, you're like, there's nothing appealing about this.
Right.
But if you had a listing agent there saying, hey, they had plans to do this, this, and this is what this would be, and this would, that's a whole nother ball game.
Right.
So I think open house would be super beneficial for that. So there's that too.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of back and forth with the open house. And in our area, it's not what you see on TV.
No.
Like when you see people lined up for an open house, that is not what's happening in our area.
You might have one, maybe two that walk through an open house.
4 on an amazing
really
day.
Good day.
Like we're excited for that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not like what you see on TV. And just know, if you have a good agent, they are out there marketing your property, even if it's not in an open house.
Yeah.
They are still working that listing. They are still trying to help you sell it. And at the end of the day, pricing is everything.
Absolutely.
Anything that's wrong with a house or location, cosmetics, this,
that could factor into a price.
Pricing fixes all that.
Yeah.
Pricing sells the house.
Yeah.
While we think it's all the marketing and everything that we do, it helps, yes. Mm-hmm. But the price is the main seller of a house.
And look, sometimes a house can be priced super appropriately and it doesn't sell in 30 days. Look,
this is true.
There are,
and this market
is where we're at with that.
Yes.
So, it's important. I think it's important for buyers agents and listing agents to say, hey, look, while I think this is the price point we need to be at, this is the average day on market. This is what you need to expect to see.
Yes.
You know what I mean? We're not going to sell in 30 days. I'm not giving you this price because I think it's going to fly out of here, but I'm giving you this price because I think it's a good, solid price point and your house is worth this amount, but 90 days is the average days on market, or 130 days is the average days on market. And that's not unrealistic to see today. It's just not. And I mean, we see houses all the time that have been on market for 200 days and sold for asking price.
You're right. It just finally sells.
You'll get more than one offer.
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden, and it sells for list price. So it's, I think you really, buyers, sellers, and agents, everybody has to take into consideration what's happening in the market and, what is going on at that point in time.
Yeah, we're definitely in that kind of market.
Yep.
People ask me, how's the market? Well, it depends.
You know what I say? Volatile.
I do too.
I use volatile all the time because there's no rhyme or reason.
No.
Just be prepared for this and hope for this.
Yep.
Is kind of what I go through.
And as realtors, that's our job, is to set the expectation for what you can expect as a buyer, as a seller in this volatile market.
Yep.
All right, that is it for today. We covered all of our questions. If you have questions about real estate, you're a buyer or a seller, or even if you're a realtor and you have questions, send them our way. We're both on Facebook, Lauren Jones, Jenny Lendle. You can find our business realtor pages. At some point, I think we'll make a page for our podcast, and then you can send all of your questions there. But for now, this was episode 12. Q&A part 2 of the Move Worthy podcast with myself, Jenny Lendle.
And Lauren Jones.
And together we have the experience to
move you forward.